What's up, guys? Welcome back to another SportUniverse podcast. I think SportUniverse podcast number 9, where sports are our universe. So I am riding solo again for this podcast. Nick and Jonathan had busy schedules today, and I have a busy schedule later tonight, so our time schedules didn't line up today, so I'm just going to be taking on this one, kind of like what I did with the other podcast where I was by myself. Okay, so this podcast is going to be focused around NBA free agency. It is currently 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Well, 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So if that time means anything to you, I've already heard the news about Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving going to the Nets. And I am definitely not happy about that. Not as depressed as I thought I would be from that. But let's get into it. So, how do I talk about this? So news came out earlier today that Kevin Durant would be making his decision on his TV show or whatever. I don't really know what it is. So I was just like, okay, so we'll learn about it and it'll be whatever. And I wasn't really ready for a decision yet. And then I just kept on scrolling through Twitter, and then Woj had to say Kevin Durant has officially decided to go to the Nets. I was like, are you kidding me? For some reason, I had it in my head that, I just had a feeling that he would go to the Knicks. And literally every single opinion that I've had on this podcast or on the website has been wrong. I had a whole article about predicting where everyone would be going. I had said Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were going to go to the Knicks. The Knicks. Kawhi Leonard was going to go to the Raptors. Yeah, those are my 3. Obviously, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to the Nets. Kawhi Leonard might still go to the Raptors, but it seems like he's looking at other teams a little bit more than I expected, so we'll see what happens with that. But as a Knicks fan, it's so annoying because you kept on seeing on Twitter and Instagram all those pictures before the draft of Zion, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant in Knicks jerseys. And I was so hopeful for that, like any Knicks fan was. How could you not, after what Knicks fans have been through, hope for that was going to happen and kind of believe that was going to happen, because the Knicks actually did the right thing and didn't win a bunch of games to keep them out of getting the number 1 overall pick. They missed the number 1 overall pick. They got the number 3 pick. I've already talked about that a bunch. So they first missed out on Zion, which I was okay with because obviously Zion's an extreme talent, but you never know with people coming from college to the NBA how they're gonna fit in, how their talents are gonna transfer. And then I was hopeful that Kyrie Irving and then Kevin Durant would come to the Knicks. And then it started to seem that Kyrie Irving was already set on being with the Nets. And I was like, okay, at least we can still get Kevin Durant. And then the rumors came out that Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard were thinking of playing together. And then everyone was like, Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant together is a much better combination than Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Talent-wise. I don't really know how it would work, but it seems like news couldn't be any better for Knicks fans. And then it comes out that he's going to the Nets. It's just so frustrating because everything just was lining up for him to go to the Knicks. Because there's so many reasons that he should have went to the Knicks. He left the Warriors, and you'd think that him being on a torn Achilles, leaving the Warriors, it wasn't about winning a championship anymore. He wanted to have his own legacy. And going to the Knicks and saving that franchise would have changed his legacy so much. And I've said this multiple times, and I just don't understand what the reason is for not going to the Knicks. It has to be James Dolan or something. Because at this point, I don't think that the Knicks have that bad reputation anymore of being a dysfunctional franchise besides James Dolan. I feel like Scott Perry and I don't remember the other guy, but here, I'll look it up. But I feel like what they've been doing recently, getting David Fizdale and actually playing with their young players and building them up, has made them into like an actual like franchise that could do something in the future. And I was telling one of my friends that people are considering going to the Knicks because he was confused as to why. He thought that the Knicks were a terrible franchise. He doesn't really follow sports. And he thought the Knicks were a terrible franchise and didn't understand why a person would want to go to the Knicks. And I explained to him that the Knicks used to be a terrible franchise, but now they're just like a bad team. They were a terrible franchise because they weren't coached well. Their organization structure was horrible. But now they're just a bad team because they don't have the talent to make them a playoff team. And that's why I thought that at least Kevin Durant would see that in the Knicks. And now I just have to wait for like some second-tier free agents to come to the Knicks. To be honest, I don't even want them to sign second-tier free agents. I just want them to use their young talent next year, get another good pick, and just hope that they could sign. I think the best free agent next year is Anthony Davis, and I'm sure he's going to sign a long-term deal with the Lakers. And then I think it's Draymond Green. Like, this was the year that they needed to get it, and they didn't get it. It's just like, I can't wait to see Stephen A. Smith's reaction to this because he's been very vocal about this whole situation, and he believed for the longest time that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I mean, after the draft, he said there was a 95% chance that both of them were going to land with the Knicks, and that made all Knicks fans really happy. Now, what else is new? They didn't sign with the Knicks. I mean, if this was back in like Phil Jackson days and they didn't get Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, like all Knicks fans would have been very angry and just like, why are we Knicks fans, and rioting against the team. But I feel like people have more confidence in Scott Perry and what's his name? Mike something. But it's just really upsetting that another year is going to go by and they aren't going to have any good players. I mean, they'll have good young players and hopefully they develop, but there's getting Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, like, then you could see a way for them to make it to the finals soon. There was a path set out that they could have made it to the finals, but where they're at right now, there's legitimately no path that I see for them making it to the finals. I see it for the playoffs, not next year, but if the talent develops like it should, like, I could see the playoffs maybe. But that's like only 8th seed or 7th seed. Signing Draymond Green next year isn't going to make them a playoff team. And I don't want them to trade anyone to get talent because they need to develop their young talent. And it's going to be another long, like 3 to 5 years for the Knicks before there's any legitimate chance for them to make it deep into the playoffs. I mean, they could surprise everyone, but as a Knicks fan, it's just, there's really no hope. And it's really upsetting because this was the off season where we're like, there could be hope for the Knicks. But trying to think what else there is. I kind of want to get off this Knicks tirade because what else is new? The Nets are going to be really good, especially in 2 years. But next year they're going to be. I see them. They could at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals with the talent that they had last year and how good they were. And adding Kyrie Irving, like a talent like Kyrie Irving, I could see them being really good. The only thing to consider is, like, before the Celtics got Kyrie Irving, they were a good team too. Probably better than the Nets at this point. But they didn't really do a lot with Kyrie Irving, so that's important to see at least for next year. But then in 2 years, like finals talent. They could definitely make it to the finals, which is really annoying because remember, like, that Celtics trade they made like 5-7 years ago. How have the Knicks not done anything in that time, and the Nets are going to be better suited? I mean, that just goes to show you how little people have faith in the Knicks, even though they should, at least from my standpoint. But I need to get off this Knicks thing. But I want to stay on free agency. Kemba Walker's supposed to go to the Celtics. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I feel it's just like a lower level form of Kyrie Irving, I think. Even though maybe Kemba Walker fits better into the Celtics system, I don't really know the difference. I feel like Kemba Walker is just a second-tier version of Kyrie Irving, which I just said. So, I guess it's a good replacement, but I don't really see that helping them in any situation. Kawhi Leonard, we still don't know where he's going. I feel like he's going to end up with the Clippers. There's no reason for him to go to the Knicks. Obviously, now he can't go to the Nets. He already said that representatives from his close circle said that he's not going to the Lakers. I don't think he's even having a meeting with the Lakers now. It seems like the Clippers are the only one team left. If the Knicks get him, it's not that bad. I mean, I don't see that happening, but I'd be pretty, excited by that. I mean, what did I just do? I don't really know what I just did to GarageBand, but we'll just go with it, you know? Kawhi Leonard, if he becomes a Knick, then we might have to make a second podcast this week, because I'm going to have very different emotions and be much more excited to talk about sports. There's not much more I can think about free agency. All I really wanted to do was rant about the Knicks. This podcast is basically the sorrow of Brian's sports fandom. I mean, I'm going to talk about the Mets next. The Mets have been so bad. They've lost 7 in a row now. Nicky Callaway still sucks. Mets bullpen is the most horrible thing I've ever seen in sports. That might be a stretch, but literally it seems like every game they're winning after the 6th inning, and then whether it be Seth Lugo, Edwin Diaz, Jerry's Familia, all these players just continue to give up leads during these games, and literally these are the players that these are some of the Edwin Diaz is the biggest thing that we did during the offseason, and he's the biggest waste of prospects. I did not word that right, but he's been so bad, and I mean, last podcast, I think Jonathan said that Edwin Diaz has been really bad, and I defended him saying that, he's been having a rough week. Now it's 2 weeks, and now it's gotten to the point where it's he's just bad. And we traded Jared Kalanick for him, Justin Dunn for him. I mean, we also got Robinson Cano, who's been hitting a little better, but still is nowhere worth those types of players, that future that the Mets could have had. And it's just so awful how bad the bullpen is. And that's one of the more annoying things about baseball, because your team plays well for 6 innings, and then these pitchers who, for some reason, don't know how to throw 3 outs, mess up the rest of the game. It just doesn't make sense how players can't do that on, and the Mets always have a problem with bullpen. It seems like every team, the bullpen is their biggest issue, and I think that's because these are literally players that weren't good enough to be real pitchers. They were had to become relievers because they couldn't pitch 5-6 strong innings. And now they can barely pitch one strong inning. And that seems like harsh, but at this point, as reading about the Mets, watching about the Mets, at this point, like, I don't really care if I'm being blatant about these things. It's just terrible to watch. And it's gotten to the point where now my family was supposed to go to a Mets game on Sunday, and we decided just not to go. Waste the money and not to go because parking's too expensive and there's no reason to sit through a Mets baseball game, because that's how bad they are. And I don't think it's ever gotten to the point with my family that we basically just riot is the wrong word, but just completely don't go to Mets games. And it's never gotten to that point, which shows how bad it is right now to be a Mets fan and how dysfunctional they are. And the fact that two of my favorite teams have owners such as the Dolans and the Wilpons goes to show how bad I did at picking which teams to root for. And currently my brother is dealing with the worst week of fandom that he's ever dealt with. Same with me, but for some reason I just don't care as much. But I mean, the Mets have sucked to such a high degree, and now this news about the Knicks combined is not good. And there's really no way that I see in the foreseeable future to fix that, because I don't see the Mets getting any better. It's just, there's really nothing good in my sports repertoire that is going good right now. And I don't really know what to say anymore. It's gotten to that point where I'm just waiting for more bad things to go wrong in the sports world for me. It's nothing good is going on. I'm trying to think if there's been one good piece of news. Because the Mets are basically done this season, I'm going to talk about possible moves I think they can make to have a good team next year. I think it starts with trading some of their pitching talent. I think, here's the thing, I said yesterday that I think the Mets should trade Noah Syndergaard, but now I'm thinking that he might be like the least valuable out of all his career right now, because I mean he's just coming off injury, but also because he hasn't been that great this season. But like pitching, just being a Mets fan for all these years and seeing how their pitching staff was supposed to take them to like great heights and how fickle they've been, just goes to show me that pitching is not something to build around, which I guess is kind of like every team during most teams during the trade deadline looked to advance their pitching, and I think, to be honest, that's how you have to go about it, because pitching, again, I'm going to use the same word, is very fickle. They can either be injured, have a really good season, have a really bad season, and I don't think building a team focused around your pitching, focused around a part of the game that's so wish-wash, it could go either way, isn't the smart move, when if you build your team around hitters and defenders, that's something that's more solid, and it's been proven that it's more solid. I mean, the Yankees have had a great hitting core for a lot of years at this point. So have the Cubs, Red Sox, a lot of other teams. I just can't think of any right now, and they're all doing really good. And if you look at the Mets, they had one really good season, and then the rest weren't that great because their pitching staff couldn't keep up with how they needed to pitch to get the Mets into where they needed to be, which is because they pitching staffs can go either way a lot of the times. Even though the elite pitchers that the Mets have, they couldn't carry them, and it's just proving it again this year. I mean, their offense is pretty good, and their pitching staff isn't, because they're just all having pretty bad seasons this year. Some of them are starting to turn around, like DeGrom, and Vargas has been doing really well, but some of them aren't, and there needs to be a different route that they take next time they rebuild. So I think they should think about trading their pitchers. Out of all of them, I guess Noah Syndergaard at this point is the most valuable. I don't want them trading him to the Yankees, but I think they need to get some more young players, young hitters. They do have like a decent core, and I saw a tweet that was very true. The Mets have the reigning NL Cy Young, a possible MVP this year in Pete Alonso, and a possible batting title winner in Jeff McNeil. And how is the season not better than what it's at? And it's mainly the bullpen and Mickey Callaway. Bullpen has been disastrous, and Mickey Callaway has not done anything to fix that, because he just adds to the disaster that the Mets have currently. And this year was supposed to be so great, it just hasn't been, and that's the same with all of my teams. So now I'm going to get into the controversial topic. Let me think. Controversial topic for this week. Why the sports gods hate Brian. No, let's actually think of something. I should mention, the U.S. soccer, women's soccer has been doing really well. I think they advanced to the semifinals. I don't really follow soccer, so I don't have much to say about the topic, but I mean, go USA is basically all I can say. I guess I'm saying, go women. I don't really have anything else to say. They beat down on whoever their first opponent was, which kind of was a little controversial. That's not going to be my controversial. Actually, it could be. Yeah, let's talk about that. I don't really know how to word it, but in the first women's soccer match, the U.S. women's kept on scoring goals, and their celebrations were getting a little out of hand to the point, I think they won 10-0 or something crazy, and the last few goals, they were celebrating a lot. I didn't watch, but I heard about it, and I guess maybe this isn't really, when do celebrations become too far? When I was listening to the radio, they were talking about this, and one of the callers said that these women only have only really maybe only had one shot in the World Cup, and to be on that stage and score a goal is such a big deal that they should be allowed to celebrate to such a degree, even if they're beating down on their opponent. And I mean, that definitely does make sense. The World Cup is a special thing, but that just doesn't show good sportsmanship. And I think sports players, that's their main goal. That's kind of been diminished over the years, is showing good sportsmanship, because they're supposed to be role models for kids watching and things like that. And beating down on it when your opponent's already down, obviously not the right model to have for children. And I think it's important for these women who are representing U.S. to give the USA a good name against all these other countries, and show little girls that the right way to respond to victory, the right way to treat opposition. And it's not all about just winning, but it's about being good teammates, being good sportsmen, showing good sportsmanship to your opponents, and just playing a game is ultimately what they're doing. And if playing a game gets involved with hurting other people's feelings, showing off too much, then you're not doing what you were meant to be doing with playing sports. And I don't really think there's much more to say about that, besides just watch what you do when you're celebrating. I mean, you see in basketball all the time that, like, let's just say the Warriors are beating down on the Knicks, and they're winning by 20 with, like, a minute, like, with the last seconds remaining. They're not going to run down, if they get the ball and there's 10 seconds, they're not going to run down, slam dunk, or anything else. They're just going to hold the ball. And that's something that is a good comparison to what the U.S. women's soccer team did. Obviously, in soccer is a little bit different because there's not as many chances to score and get points on the board. But you can score and then just high-five your teammates and that's it. Not go crazy like it's a game-winning goal or something like that. Be positive to your teammates, be positive to the people you're playing against, and just be respectful in general. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Alright, I think that's a half hour. And I think I'm going to sign off. Let's see if that's a half hour. I'll talk for a little bit longer. It's not quite a half hour. Let's see, what else is there to say? There's certain situations where I guess celebrating is allowed to a degree. If it's like because the world, it wasn't like, is it ever acceptable? Obviously, if it's a close game. But besides that, it's just a disrespectful move, and I feel like there's no reason for it. Alright, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm not just going to keep blabbering on to get to 30 minutes. I think we're pretty much at it. Thanks for listening. We might do a second podcast during the week to have, so everyone can like talk about their reactions to free agency, because free agency is a big topic and something we've been talking about, but our schedules didn't work out. But I knew that we need to get a podcast out this weekend because that's our schedule. Like I mentioned, our schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to have highlight videos, podcasts on the weekends, usually Sunday. That's how it's been working out recently. I'm starting a job this week, so hopefully nothing gets changed. What I'm actually thinking of doing is increasing it to Monday, Wednesday, Friday are highlight videos, and then Tuesday, Thursday are more analyzing videos. So if you've seen people on Instagram or Twitter like reacting to certain plays or kind of telling people what happened during these plays, basically analyzing what happened, I'm thinking about doing that Tuesday and Thursday just to keep on getting content out, because that's a very important thing. The more content, the better. But I want to make sure that the content's high quality enough. I mean, as high quality as I can make it, because I'm not really know that much about computers and all audio stuff. So obviously, like Nick says, all of this is still work in progress. We're just trying our best to do something cool, and we all love sports, and we want to get our knowledge about sports out to the world. So that's what we've been doing. So keep on subscribing, keep on commenting. We're still not getting a lot of comments, but that's okay. Keep on subscribing. We're at 32 subscribers. Kind of a low week for subscribers, which is a little weird because we had such a good week last week, but I guess it's the ebb and flow of YouTube. Watch our Pete Alonso video and our the Giannis MVP video. Oh my god, I should have talked about that. We'll talk about that next week. Giannis winning MVP, because Nick is very adamant about that. Keep reading the articles on SportUniverse.com. If you're interested in joining the SportUniverse crew, that means writing, editing videos for us. Go to TheSportUniverse2019@gmail.com. Contact us. I'm pretty good with responding to all that stuff. I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.